out, dude, and we had to delete
Matt got
all
records.
records.
For being fucking chauvinistic, toxic.
I had to
male.
black out the lines of the CIA document.
We're here with our first lady guest.
Hey there. It feels so unnatural now.
Why? No, it's
We
great.
gave a. I thought it was
Oh, yeah,
funny to
'cause we
talk
already-
about how I refer to my girlfriend as my bitch all the time, and I just got weirdly squirrely.
Yeah.
And it went to like a 5-minute
Because
thing.
you
so
feel
I deleted
guilt
it.
and shame for it.
I
But
do. I
anyway,
feel
let's not
shameful
delve
now.
into it.
I'm not-
exactly
Yeah,
the
just
same
repeat
thing.
it all over again.
That's happened.
Yeah.
But no, Rachel's here. She's a comic in Philly. Rachel Fogletto. She's very funny. She's a feminist. She's a woman.
Feminist comedian.
She's a feminist lady that I don't know, what else should I say? I feel like that
that's great.
sums
You're
it
doing
up.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
Matt's here.
Perfect.
Matt's a chauvinist sexist.
No, I'm
So
not.
this is a
I'm
fun
not.
this is a fun showdown.
I love women.
Would you say
That's like the most like wolf in sheep's clothing. I love women.
I love women.
nobody loves women more than me? I love them.
I love women. I know lots of women.
Yeah.
So many women.
Yeah. So no, we're talking Louis.
Yeah.
Talking a little Louis C.K.
Yeah, I got harangued by my entire extended family
Yeah.
and friends about it.
My sister texted me about it. And
What'd
I
she
was
say?
like, basically the same thing you said. She was like, "What's up with your boy?"
Damn.
'Cause everybody.
So you guys got like personal messages about
Yes.
Louis C.K.?
Yeah.
yes,
Damn.
and it's like, well, that's because everybody knows I was obsessed with him.
Gotcha.
I love
Yeah.
Louis C.K.
Yeah, he's a good comic.
And but the thing is, we all knew about this.
Yeah.
Like we all knew about this, and that's weird when shit like that happens.
Well, I heard it and I was like, no way.
I fucking believed it.
Yeah.
I've heard it from like 6 different people.
I only heard the one account in Aspen at the Colorado
I've heard
Comedy
a few.
Festival.
I heard of
So
a
what
few.
was the exact details of that?
Wait.
They came in. That was the hotel room one. Where
the first accusation or like the
Very-
one that
One
just
was
came
2
out?
girls.
I think the one that got the most traction the fastest.
Well, oh, then are you talking about the most recent article though, like the New York
the
Times
one that had the 5. Yeah, that had the 5 things.
The
Oh,
one-
it was like instances of him.
yeah.
Yeah. The one I remember seeing like a couple years ago. It was like I can't remember if it wasn't BuzzFeed. It was like some article. It was some source that wasn't enough to like
Yeah.
Yeah, like Huffington
confirm
Post or
it.
something
It was
that was-
something
No,
that
something that's discontinued now, actually.
Gawker. No.
Maybe it
Something.
was Gawker. I
Something like
honestly
that.
don't remember.
That was the 2 girls who were the comedy duo.
Yeah.
He invited them back up, and the bar closed, and he goes, well, just come up to my room. We'll get
Yeah.
some drinks or whatever. And they thought he was being, what's the word for it? Not collegiate, but whatever, professional. You
Yeah,
know,
just
it
like
was
social. I mean,
yeah.
like the way you hang out.
And then he said,
And then he was like,
"Can I jerk off in front
Yeah.
of you?"
We said, can I take my dick out? And they were
Yeah.
like, what? And then he just started fapping.
just said
Wait,
it.
didn't they say yes?
Well, they just
No.
started, he said they started laughing. They just started laughing
Oh, okay.
hysterical. They were
All
kind of
right.
like it was a joke.
All
They're
right.
like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he was just like,
Woo.
bam.
and like I think it was in a sense that like, well, the first thing I read like years ago was like that he blocked the door, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I
really
heard
Yeah, that's what
evident
I heard,
in
but I
this.
don't think that was the
But
account.
either way, it's still kind of like if somebody's like jerking off, like
Blocking the door
Yeah.
adds an element. If he was
Blocking the door, I
and,
heard that, and I
and,
was like,
and
cool.
blocking the door is one thing, but blocking the door and jerking off is fucking intense.
the jerking off is like in itself because it's like to not expect to see somebody jerking off is like I mean and that's only happened to me once by like a stranger, so
Yeah.
that's already like
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm
My-
allowed to curse, right?
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
like, what the fuck? But
Matt
like,
just said bitch. About
yeah, I know. I
women.
couldn't remember. Like I know if like
Well, it's happened to me on chat
Yeah.
roulette about 50
Oh.
times. That was,
Every
yeah.
time.
Well,
it was just
I
Louis,
mean,
dude.
the internet's like a whole other thing, but like when it's live in person, it's such a thing. So I can't imagine it's like you spent the whole night. I can only imagine like you spent the whole night. They open for him or something,
Something like that. They're
and
all
it's
the same
like
thing.
somebody you look up to, and you're like hanging out. It's like, oh, cool. Like the bar's closed. Like it's cool. We're hanging out with Louis C.K. And then all of a sudden he's like, "Can I take my dick out?" Like I would probably be like, "What?" Like I'd probably laugh too, just because I would be like,
Yeah.
"What?" Like
Yeah, that makes sense.
catches you off guard, especially like when you've gained this amount of trust. So you're even more like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
Now I'm in this hotel room and
And Louis Cage
like,
jerking off. And then
yeah.
that was the thing, too. They stayed for its entirety. They said he finished on his stomach. That's how I
Yeah.
busted. That's how I figured out the blocking the door myth. It's like no way a 40 or 50-year-old man was standing and ejaculated onto his stomach.
onto his belly.
I did the MythBusters on that one. I did like the velocity.
Yeah,
I was like,
fucking yarn.
Oh,
Yeah.
what? It
You're in a
couldn't get
hotel
on
room.
like
the
there's no
stomach.
way he was standing in front of a door and jerked off up and onto his stomach. He's 50 years old.
I mean,
I doubt he's
shit.
shooting like that.
I've seen cum go all kinds of places.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, from a 50-year-old though, that's my thing.
I've never stood,
gotta
I've
get-
never stood and hit my
I've gone
stomach.
pretty old. I've gone late 40s. I think it's
Okay.
probably the oldest.
And
And a
they're
guy
still
stood and fucking.
Well, I'm just saying. Like,
That's
I know
good-
that the
that's good
velocity
news.
of cum, like, is. I mean, you guys just keep producing sperm till you die.
but
so.
but the punch
maybe
lessens with age.
maybe he bent his dick the way Bugs Bunny bends
Wait,
that hunter's
rifle.
gun.
Well, that was,
wait.
that's-
What, so what? Wait. The only reason that you're bringing that up is because you said that he couldn't have been like standing by.
that was what I heard. He blocked the door, so I looked around trying
Well,
to
they
find
didn't
out if
even
that was
say
true
he
or
did.
not. No,
They-
but
they
there
didn't.
was a thing going around that he blocked the door. But I think that stemmed from. You know what I think that stemmed from? Actually, he apologized. He called someone or Facebook messaged someone to apologize, and was like, "Sorry that I
pulled you into a
bathroom."
Yeah. Oh,
that was-
yeah.
And then she was like,
He-
"Yeah, that's not me."
Exactly,
And he was like,
yeah.
I used to read people wrong," and it's like, "Oh, dude,
Yeah, Louis.
wow."
He's got some fucking issues.
Yeah.
But even back
There's
to
no-
the thing about the jerking off and the how, like somebody just posted a thing about like because people said like why didn't you just like leave, and it was like instead of like fight or flight, I think
Yeah, I read
she was
that.
like the
appease
and please,
survive or something.
which is like
Appease and please,
totally
yeah.
true because if you're like all of a sudden like oh shit I thought this was one way but
Yeah.
now it's another. And I don't really know where I am. And if I leave, is he going to get pissed off? Because
Yeah.
one, I didn't expect him to take off his clothes and jerk off, so what else could he do that I don't expect him to do? So let's just like ride this out and see,
Honestly, if
you know.
I was with Louis C.K. and he started jerking off, I'd probably stay. I would be like, "All right, man, whatever you gotta do. I just kind of want to talk to you about some stuff." I probably wouldn't have left the room if he was like, "Can I jerk off in front of you?" I'd be like, "Fuck,
Yeah, that's
fine." I totally would have let him.
so. A guy shows.
I mean, that's fine.
I was a mega
Yeah.
fan of his, so I'm trying to put myself in their place. As I said, I thought about that too. I'm like, they could have just turned around and left, and I'm like,
See, Matt looks at like sexual assault like this through a very male centric point of view, where he's just like,
I thought that was
I
my
might fucking hang out.
Nice use
no, that
of,
was my that was my first thought. Was
male-centric.
like my first thought was like, why didn't they just leave? I'm like, they could have
Well,
just
and
been
that's
like,
well, that's 'cause
and
you're
I'm
just
actually
I
glad,
know.
but I'm glad that you said that because that's a lot. Like that's like
Yeah.
almost everybody's first thought. Because one, it's and I want to go back to like, what you said is like I really admire him, so I would just be like, maybe okay.
I definitely would have hemmed and hawed for a while. Been like, you really gonna jerk off right now, man? Come on.
I mean, I've been in rooms where my friends jerked off, and I didn't even respect them.
But you stayed?
Yeah, I stuck around.
But that's the thing is
That's
you.
a joke. I'm fucking.
Oh, no, I
that's
mean,
not
I-
a joke.
That's
but
real.
That's obviously it doesn't relate.
But no, that was my first thought. Was like they could have took off. I mean, I really like Louis C.K. So in my head, I'm naturally being like, no.
So even in
No.
the instance where you would say like, oh, I would stay, I'd be like, oh man, okay, but I'll stay. But so it's like even in that instance, it's kind of it's not the same because obviously you wouldn't feel like you were in an amount of danger probably that those women felt.
That would have been awkward. I would have been
But
like, come on, man, stop.
in a sense, he's still using his authority to put you in a situation that you don't want to be in as a sexual situation because
True.
it's like you know who you are, people admire you, so you're like, oh, like they're gonna deal with it because I'm Louis C.K. So I'm just gonna take my dick out.
Fuck.
So this is the only thing So all they did was consent to going into his room. Mm-hmm. I could have
Right.
sworn I heard they said yes when he said, "Can I take my dick out?"
No.
I thought they said
They said
yes,
they-
but we thought he was kidding.
I feel like it was something like they were like, what the hell, like what, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that would change it quite a bit.
I mean, regardless the way it was worded, was it clearly it wasn't like they were like, yeah, take your dick out. You know what I mean? Like they weren't like, oh, cool, like we're gonna fuck around with Louis.
Yeah.
Whereas if that were the case, it would be like, okay, cool, but
What were the other
Yeah.
ones? The phone call one.
There was a
he
phone
jerked
call
off
where he
on the
was.
phone.
She said he was definitely jerking off.
Said
on
she
the phone.
could hear him close the blinds.
there was
Oh,
somebody.
there was one in the office. Yeah, there was another one where he had
Yeah.
like a young lady in his office that he would repeatedly. She just was like, yeah, fine, I'll do it, and then he just jerked off in front of her like a bunch of times. And apparently, I heard this through word of mouth, but someone told me that he used to jerk off with Sarah Silverman's younger sister, like constantly.
I just saw something about that, but I did not get a chance to read
Yeah,
it.
and she was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was weird. She used to, from what I heard, she would sit outside his hotel door and just like sit. He'd be like, just stand by the door, and I'm gonna jerk off in my room. And she's like, I would just do it all the time for him. And she's like, I was at the time like whatever, but she's like, it's definitely kind of weird. Mm-hmm. So it was like that. There's apparently his apology for shoving someone into a bathroom, which that's a
That
fucking-
is
Yeah, it's a
scary.
scary one.
And
That's-
that you can't
that's
even
where-
remember who it was is
Yeah,
even more
I
scary.
know.
It's like, fuck.
Yeah, so that's the one where it's like they all. And if it was the isolated Colorado incident, where I'd be like, damn, dude, that was weird. But it's like, then you have like 5 more. Then like, yeah, sorry, I shoved you in a bathroom. She's like, no, that wasn't me. And he's like, oh, sorry.
Well, it's a slow build. I mean, to me, it's obviously a slow build of like abuse of power. And that's what the problem is. Like he, like, obviously felt comfortable enough to just keep, like, he already knows that these times he's even at, like, his whole argument was, I asked first. But then you also know that if you're asking somebody who's like below you in the industry, you're also putting them in a situation where they may not really want to, but they feel like they either have to, or they have to like pretend it never happened, or maybe even go along with it. And if there's like no rapport, like you're not flirting, you're not dating, you're not like in any kind of intimate relationship. It's like to just, like, if you got like booked somewhere and like to open for like a headliner, and the headliner were just like, oh, by the way, like, can I like jerk off in front of you? Like, it would just be, you'd be like, wait, what? Like, what do I do? You know, because you're like, you don't want to make a thing. You don't want to like.
Sure, it depends on which headliner.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it was Louis C.K., I
But
really
if it
would think,
was-
I'd be like,
But what if it
fuck,
was
man.
somebody you didn't really like care that much about, but they were like a big deal, and you were just like, but if I like
Louis
fuck with
Anderson
this
told
person,
me right before I went on stage that he jerked off to me
was he
in
like,
his hotel room.
was he like, what context? I'm just
We
curious.
didn't
Like,
really talk the entire weekend until that point.
he just
And
literally
he
said
was
that?
Like, I want you to know I jerked off to you in my hotel room last night.
that's fucking weird.
It was.
Yeah.
I might
is
have to
odd.
fucking Gawker that motherfucker.
You should. You should go out there.
Although Hulk Hogan destroyed Gawker.
Oh, that's true.
Give the old stinky legs. Say the N word in a sex tape.
How about Gibson? My whole thing is like, do you think Louis is going to come back?
Yeah, Louis will definitely come back.
You think so?
Yes.
I mean, either way, he'll be okay. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
he's-
Like,
yeah,
nothing
he's
bad
totally
is
fine.
gonna happen.
Well,
Besides reading the newspaper and the whole world being like, there's the guy that jerks off
Yeah,
in front
there's
of
that
girls.
fucking pervert. So, I mean, he did get destroyed.
Yeah. But like Gibson is in movies now. Mel's back.
He's a terrible person.
Like N-words on tapes now are just like, now it's kind of like, well, that's all you did. So now with like,
Oh, yeah, he did get the N word, didn't
yeah,
he?
he had
hit
that.
him
He
with
had
a pack of
Yep.
N-words.
Yeah, exactly. Mel went in. It wasn't just like Jews in Hollywood. He like, someone said that. He's like, oh, he's like
Oh,
a
yeah, Matt's
conspiracy.
anti-Semitic.
No,
Rachel,
I'm
aren't you
not.
Jewish?
No, I'm not. I'm not anti-Semitic.
Everyone thinks I am, but I'm.
No, she's
Oh, yeah,
Italian.
you're Italian.
Oh, wow.
What?
yeah.
Who's the
What's wrong with that?
anti-Semite
How
now?
would that be anti-Semitic?
Just trying to classify people by race.
What?
Yeah. Shane has.
A lot of people think that I'm Jewish by appearance, so it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
You do look like no. But yeah, Matt thinks Mel Gibson's great. And
No, I don't.
The last 2 episodes, you defended him.
I was kidding.
Were you?
Yes, I was tongue in cheek.
get
I mean,
some-
I admire his
Get
body
a little,
of work.
Get a little fucking.
I go by art. I separate.
Bashful
I
when
separate
old
the
Rachel
artist. No,
comes
no.
down
I
here.
separate
I
the art.
don't-
I separate the artists from their work. I do
you?
that. Yes.
I'm not a
Self-admittedly.
fan of his work either, so it was really easy for me to
Patriot.
just.
Double tomahawks.
You didn't like the
not-
fucking Patriot? What the fuck? You didn't like Braveheart?
Just not my cup of tea.
What do you think
all.
about like? I feel like now there's definitely PR companies that slant their language now to kind of appease. Like they all mention like power dynamics and all this stuff. Do you think they kind of like co-opted feminist language to kind of put out like apologies?
Wait, what do you mean?
What the fuck?
Like, so there was the guy. So Louis C.K.'s former manager apologized, and all the apologize. I noticed Louis' apology and this guy's. They mentioned like power structures and like how they abuse their power. And I feel like no one ever talked about this kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting, which is why it was almost like, again, doubly outrageous with Louis, is that Louis talked about that shit himself. Like, that was,
Yeah,
like, that's something he has always known is in existence. He talks about it in his comedy. He's talked about it in his show. I mean, I was a big fan of him also. So, like, even when I read that stuff a couple years ago, I was like you said, Shane, I was like, I know that's not really like out there, but where there's smoke there's fire. I'm like, it's probably true. And then like I just remember being like, that really sucks, because I like to see, I think we all think like when you admire somebody, you're like, oh, I admire this person and I don't admire creeps. Oh, now the person I admire is a creep. So like that doesn't make sense. So your automatic instinct is to go into denial. But it really sucked. And I know a lot of women felt this way too, is because Louis seemed like a pretty woke dude.
Yeah.
And then, to have like the whole wolf in sheep's clothing was a big letdown.
Oh,
so,
what would really suck is if he does come back and now he's not allowed to say the N-word anymore.
like, I
Yeah.
don't think that would be like his main
That would be a
punishment for
big-
jerking
that
off
would
in
be a
front of
big
women. Like,
problem for me.
you know, like you sexually assaulted these women, so please,
Look,
like, you just can't say the N word
Rachel,
anymore.
These types of events affect people differently. This is my perspective. That's how it would affect me. Don't
I wonder-
tell me if that's
Right,
wrong.
that is your experience,
Thank
Shane,
you.
and you are allowed to have your
Yes.
truths.
I wonder. Here's my thing. I actually I never saw anyone say this, but I finally I saw like the kind of foot drop on it. How come Bill Clinton hasn't been mentioned in any of this stuff? He got a big pass.
For the
Sexual. It was like Weinstein, Roy Moore, Louis, and it's like, what
I
about
agree
old
with you.
Bill? And it's like I finally saw that starting to drop on the other side because that was like Donald Trump brought his alleged
Yeah.
victims, and people were like, "What a scumbag! Why would Trump bring them through here?" And it's like, it almost
well, he
seems
is
like
a
now-
scumbag, but it's
Yeah,
also like
but it's
it's like
almost-
two scumbags don't make a
Exactly. That's
Right.
my thing's almost now where it's like being a certain political party now almost pardons you from rape accusations. Because no one went that hard on Hillary. And these women were like, yeah, Hillary hired private investigators, bullied me into silence. And they said that on the record.
I mean, a
And people were
lot
like,
of people when I mean, it depends on what
I didn't see
where like
anything.
who
I never saw a
who
single
you
thing.
follow. Oh, I mean, I read a lot of things where people were critical of
Really?
Hillary for that. Yeah, I mean, Hillary's been criticized for pretty much everything that she like Bill has done that she's tied to, which is
Yeah.
Yeah, but she-
arguably like who knows if that's what she felt like she had to do, but it doesn't matter. She still did it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think Bill Clinton sucks. He is a sexual
Yeah.
assaulter, and
Yeah.
But
and
means
I saw a lot
Hillary
of things
sucks,
about
too,
that.
right?
That was my thing.
She does suck. I mean, she sucks in a lot of ways.
I want to make sure you think she sucks.
But a lot of people.
I
were-
do.
a
I
lot
do
of
think
people-
she sucks. I still voted for her because I think
she sucks less.
she was somebody who sucks who was qualified.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
But,
my thing. It's
yeah.
like a lot of people were like, well, you can't hold her accountable for the stuff her husband did, and it's like, dude, she was a fucking accomplice,
Yeah, she was.
So-
Yeah, they were partners.
and that's my thing. It's like, so that's no different than a Republican being like, well, Roy Moore's an all right guy, and whatever. They're probably making it up about him.
Oh yeah, if you protect, I mean, basically, and the higher up you go in power, you're going to be surrounded by people who are going to protect you from all
Yeah.
the messes you make. So,
True.
I mean, that's probably the highest you can get is the presidency. So it doesn't matter. Like Donald Trump's in there now. He's like, yeah, grab women by the pussy. Like, no, it
He's-
doesn't matter.
he's got a
Nothing's
couple-
going to come of that.
He's got
Like,
a couple allegations going on him himself.
he had allegations going on before, like with him and teenagers, and fucking, he still got elected. People don't care.
Shit.
How old of teenagers? Talking to 18?
No, it's like younger.
Damn it.
I want to say like 14.
Damn it, Donald.
There was those flight
something like
logs. You ever
that,
see those
yeah.
flight logs?
What's he doing there?
There was this guy who got arrested for pedophilia who like used to charter flights, and they got his
That's
flight
with Bill
log.
Clinton.
Yeah, but there was
Oh, I
all,
was talking
apparently Trump Daddy was
Trump Daddy was rolling
Trump Daddy
through.
flew on that too. Yeah.
I could see that coming down.
So yeah, that was something I noticed. That was someone just wrote an article yesterday about how like it's time Bill Clinton has to
Yeah.
pay because they're coming after Bush Senior. Everyone, I that was the first thing I've seen about old Bill.
Notice how Matt uses words like coming after. He defends these assaulters quite
No,
a bit.
I'm totally out of politics, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I sit on the political sidelines. I didn't vote for either candidate. I didn't like either of them.
Yeah.
I think that
Stop trying to fucking assassinate my
Most-
character, dude.
yeah, I think most men in positions of power are pretty shitty and take advantage of it, especially depending on like what's socially acceptable.
Also, most
at
women
the
in
time.
places of power.
I mean,
Pretty much any human in power.
yeah, I guess it depends on how much power you have, respectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious
Yeah.
now too. Like what? Trying to think how to phrase this. I mean, that's never going to change.
But I mean, going to like women too, it's like if there's less women in power, then it's just going to happen to women more, and it's probably going to be in the form of sexual assault most of the time. So
Yeah, that's true. I wonder what. Yeah, that makes sense.
What if men get sexually assaulted but don't say anything as much?
what if? What is your
Like
where
let's
are you
say
going?
a comic in our scene was like on stage being like, I'd like to fuck him. And I'm like, all right,
That's enough.
that's uncomfortable, but whatever. Not going to.
Yeah, I feel like.
Oh,
I don't know,
like
I think-
about
I
you?
just-
Yeah, no, I think. I mean, there was a really good article somebody shared, and I can't remember what it's called, and it was like the dark psychology of stand-up comedians or something. It was just out like maybe like last week, and I feel like in comedy it's this weird thing because we have this like we kind of have this like safe space to fail, I guess, on stage, so we can kind of like push all these envelopes and say weird shit. But like off stage, I feel like those lines get blurred. Like people still feel like those like waters are murky when it's like, well, no, you're doing an art form here. So if you want to try to be satirical or edgy or risky, it's like, yeah, do your bit and see if it works, you know? But
well, yeah, and there's definitely like I've seen it with stand up where there's definitely dudes who like there's a lot of guys who do stand up where like the people in their circle, like that's their only chance of like fucking a girl, basically, you know, to put it bluntly. It's like there's a lot of dudes I see who I notice a lot of guys, and this is my theory, that a lot of like the male feminist types eventually get kind of busted.
Well, yeah,
unsavory behavior.
Here's the thing:
Louis was a male feminist.
He was.
And it's another one, dude. That
and it's such a common. I mean, the wolf in sheep's clothing is such a common thing that it's like, if you take any group of people anywhere, you're gonna have. You're always gonna have people manipulate. So if you have a person who's a manipulator, so they can hurt people, why wouldn't they infiltrate a group like as a male feminine? You know what I mean? Not infiltrate. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying it's like an intentional, calculated thing. It might be to some people, but yeah, it's sort of like a couple years ago, it came out that James Dean, the porn star, who kind of was like touted as this feminist, you know, because he did like a lot of like BDSM scenes and he was very sex positive, and a lot of women like kind of like said good things about him. But then it came out that he like broke boundaries in a lot of like his scenes with women. Like he broke, like he said, oh, I wouldn't do this to you, and then he would just do it in the middle. So he was like basically raping them, but then there's already this stigma attached to like BDSM. So like, well, how are you really getting raped? He named
himself James Dean.
Yeah.
What a dick.
I mean, I don't know how he got his name, but
it's definitely that's definitely his porn pseudonym.
But it's his it's his porn, but I don't know how he acquired it.
What would yours be?
My porn name?
Yeah.
Fat Matt, definitely. Fat Matt.
Oh man, I have a funny sexual assault story.
What happened?
My girlfriend was at the mall at the Hallmark store looking for cards.
Yeah.
And this guy just was like down at the end of the aisle.
Hold on, you just did hand motion. Oh, she flashed.
He went fucking just to my nice sweet
in the
girlfriend.
Hallmark store,
jerking off in the middle.
Does
of
it flash?
He like showed Caitlin, my girlfriend. Like he was like looking at her.
Showed and stroked, or just
and
showed?
Then like I think showed and stroked.
Jesus Christ!
I think he was getting wild at the mall.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, it's like a really.
She like my girlfriend was like, "What the fuck?" and just walked away and told her mom. It was like, that guy just had his dick out back there.
Well, I feel like that
they
also
started laughing.
Yeah, I feel like that because I've talked to women before who are like, I've always asked. That was like my go-to stuff on Tinder dates. Like, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen? And the one girl was like, I was in the park with this guy, and I just turned around. And he was like, touch it, and he just had his fucking hog out. And she was like, yo, dude. But there's two schools of thought where some girls are just like, dude, get your dick out of here. And some would just crumble and be like, oh my God, that was like the worst thing I've ever seen.
It's definitely fight or flight. For me, that's what happened. Like I got, and I hate it so bad because he told a really stupid joke. I was waiting for the bus like in the middle of the day.
I'm sorry, I'm about to laugh at this.
No, feel free to laugh. I am giving you permission to laugh.
All right, good.
So like I'm waiting for the bus in the middle of the day. This was like maybe 5 years ago. And this guy pulls up and he's like he rolls down his window and he's like, can you tell me where Hancock Street is? In retrospect. So he's like, can you tell me where Hancock Street is? And I was like, I don't know. Like, sorry, I don't know where that is. It was like South Philly. So like, and I'm expecting him to drive away because I'm looking for the bus, not really paying attention. And he like pulled up on the corner. And then like, I'm just noticing out of my like corner of my eye, he's just not going away. So I turn and finally look and he's just like jerking off his half like hard dick, like staring at me in his car. And at first, like I was like, because I just remember being so like taken aback. I was just like scared for a second, because even like, because it does, you're afraid, you're just like, what the fuck, like why is your dick out, like why are you doing this right now? And then like I finally just got like, after I was like initially had the panic, I just got really mad and I started like screaming. I was just like, fuck you, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you're fucking gross. And I walked in front of his car and then he kind of got scared and went away. And then I followed him to get his license plate. And I was just like, I'm fucking following you. Like, I kind of made a big deal. But it took like a second.
How'd you follow him? Did you get on the bus? And
no, I was on foot because he was
follow that car. She's like, get the fuck in the back.
No, he was trying to drive away. I guess maybe he was trying to put his dick.
What kind of car was he? What kind of car was he twerking with?
Blue.
Like, did he open his door and jerk out?
No, he has windows down in like a regular sedan.
Lifted.
He had like a bunch of other clothes on, but he had his dick out.
Okay.
And he had a hat
Damn.
on, so it was hard to like describe him. Because I went to the police and they didn't do anything.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a tough one to catch.
I mean, I got his license plate number.
Oh, well, that's a pretty easy one to catch.
Well, maybe, and I'm not defending the guy, because there was a period where I had a bad fungal infection on my groin, and I was driving, like, sunning it out while I was driving.
Were you stopping and jerking off in front of people?
Puns?
No, I was just sitting there. I wasn't like being like handcuffed.
It made me so mad. Not only that he did that, but I got even more infuriated that he made such a stupid joke.
Yeah.
Like it pissed me off. I was like, oh man, he fucking told a
He's like a
dumbass
Batman
joke
villain
on
of
top of it.
perverts.
I mean, what do you think success-wise that guy has with his jerk off in public? It's got to be like
Probably up there. When it happened to my girlfriend, she like...
No. I'm saying like, you think is that a tactic to like get women, or is that just a weird release?
Oh no,
tactic
it's not to get.
It's not like check out my dick.
It's like a thing you do to women. It's a form of assault. It definitely is, because it's like, you know that a random woman on the street doesn't want to see that, and
course,
she's going to get upset, and you're doing it anyway.
Remember the thing we saw? It was like it went through all the form of like sex positivity and kink, and they listed exhibitionism in there.
It's different, Matt.
But I guess,
Please.
I wonder why they listed
Well,
that.
it's interesting that you brought that up, because after it happened, I was a little bit tormented, because I'm totally like, I'm an exhibitionist myself and a voyeur. So I was like, it kind of threw me off, because I always thought like streaking was funny, you know? And I think like the naked bike ride is fine. And here's the thing is, I was like, why am I so upset by this? Why did this? Because it made me feel like really shitty for the rest of the day. And I'm like, why do I feel so bad? And it's really because it's like, because that was done to me on purpose to upset me. And it was sexual.
It's pretty horrifying.
Like, it's really like, that was done to scare and upset me, and it worked. Whereas like, to me, like someone just running naked through a field is kind of like not really a threat,
It's
because
not at you.
it's not at, no one's like fixating on you. No one's like, it's
But
not
if somebody
sexual.
stops on the Philly naked bike ride and looks at you and fucking...
then they're a fucking,
keeps
then they're a
getting
piece of shit. Yeah, they're a piece of shit.
That's a good line
That's
to
what
say.
that guy should do.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be like, I always try to think if
Dude, if
some
somebody
dude
whipped their bird out
stopped
at
me and
it'd be
started jerking
so
off at
funny.
me, I'd be like, dude.
Obviously, yeah.
Well, I heard
We can laugh.
there was a guy, I kind of started it, but
Maybe.
there was a dude peeing on St. Patty's Day walking up the street, and I made fun of him. I yelled at him. I was like, "Put your fucking dick away!" And he turned around. I was just like, "Yeah!" And I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm definitely not there. Apparently, it's like a thing with exhibition, like flashers, where like they get like it's like a obsessive compulsive thing where they get like this big impulse, like it's like a tension that builds, and finally they're like, "Fuck it," and they pull their dick out and show someone, and they say like they're like, "Oh, finally."
Yeah, man, that's something
But
you gotta like go to therapy
jerking-
for.
yeah, I'm not saying like you know, let
Like if
people
you
walk around and do
can't
that.
find a way to do that consensually, then you gotta see some. Like that's me. I'm like,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
if you like want to pay somebody or whatever
Yeah.
to like get like
Or
you know,
just-
then cool. But
Or maybe you could ask two ladies to your hotel room and ask them if you could jerk off.
and then if they're just like, what, you
Well,
should
what
not
if they're
take your
like- what if
clothes
they're
off.
like-
And
what if they say yes?
I would say, do we want to talk about enthusiastic consent? Do we want to get into that?
No, what's that mean?
So, like the idea that there's this whole like weird gray area with consent where it's like, well, did they say yes or say no? But it's like there's also still that power dynamic where there was no, like chances are, I don't think he talked about like, oh, do you want to come up to my hotel room so I can take my dick out and jerk off? Because they probably would have been like, nope.
Yeah.
But like when you're in that situation, it's harder to say no. Especially if you feel like if you leave, will this person get angry? Like, will they potentially, follow me or hurt me?
Yeah.
So I might just go along with it. So it's like the idea of just reading body language. Like when you're about to hook up with somebody, like, and it's on, like, it's on.
Yeah.
Like they're into it. So, but if you're like on the upper hand and you're sort of like pushing it,
Yeah.
and somebody's like, oh yeah, okay, like, sure, I guess, like, and you're still doing it, it's like, you're not being cool.
That's tough because that like so. Plus, then it's like you have a guy who's like relatively experiencing fame for the first time. So this is a dude who's like 40-ish, who's like having probably had some women throw themselves at him where he was like, "You guys want to fuck me? That's weird." So
Yeah, this is early
Yeah.
Louis.
maybe
This is
and
early.
I'm not like I said, I don't. I'm just postulating here, but it's like I wonder if it was just kind of like chicks just want to see me jerk off now.
Well, I
Where he
think
was like in his head, he's like, I'm a famous comedian now. Here are two young women. They're gonna come up to my hotel room. He might have been in his head thinking like it's fucking on, And then
I
he's
think
like,
that he might have thought. I think he might think that he had. I definitely think that there had been. I mean, there has to have been like women that were cool with it and they were down
Yeah.
with it. So it's like that has to build your confidence. But
It's
also
that's
like
a weird confidence form to build. Be like my jerk off in front of people. Confidence was
well,
like sky
it's-
high.
and that's
It's true,
fine.
yeah.
Like if that's your thing, and like I'm sure there were some people who were into it, and that's
Yeah.
great. Like cool. But I think it's like that whole like maybe anybody who becomes famous, like when you have a
Yeah.
bunch of like women throwing themselves at you, it's like, well, I'm just gonna ask. I'm just gonna like. I think like the asking becomes doing without waiting for that much permission because
yeah.
you're just like, well, yeah, I can do this. Like I can do this.
That's
Like,
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe, but back to the was it enthusiastic consent?
Yeah,
What
like
was it?
like it being very obvious that a person wants to be engaging
very
with you.
obvious, and like that's a blurry fucking line to be like, even if you have someone in your hotel room say yes, and it's still not consent, it seems kind of like we're extending the possible ability to call someone out for sexual assault to a whole new level of like, well, yeah, I did say yes in his hotel room, but he was rich, so I had to. So he sexually assaulted me 10 years ago.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I definitely
It's
see
tough.
what you're.
It's just pushing a boundary that could be a little fucking dangerous to.
Well, interesting choice of words because it's almost like I said, depending on the power dynamic, it could. I mean, it's pushing boundaries. I think that with gender, like women are just very used to and expected to having our boundaries pushed. So a lot of times it's like if this thing is happening again, especially if you're not physically as taking up, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It can feel like, and I can say I've been in situations like that where all of a sudden, and it can be in the middle of something that's even somewhat consensual or is consensual. And then somebody is like, oh, let's take it in this direction. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. But depending on the circumstance, you might go along because you're just like, I don't know. And then there's all these gray
but
areas.
Other than a circumstance of like a threat, like a real threat, like obviously a gunpoint, then you can say yes. But like while you're having sex, let's say somebody wants to do something else, and you just go along with it because you feel pressured, because it might be weird to be like, no, I don't know, like that. But that's still consent. That's still, it has to be, because again, you're opening this door of like, well, yeah, I did say yes, but I didn't want to, so
Well, nothing.
let's fucking ruin this guy's career.
Nothing has to be. I mean, nothing
his
has to
life.
be anything. I think in this situation, it's definitely not that. It's
I
it's
think
very.
in this situation, yeah, it's
but
not.
but now that but since but that's the thing is like we're
Yeah.
talking about it and we're assessing it. And are there gray areas? Absolutely. And can you look at a person's behavior pattern of abusing their authority and power in situations with either men or like women or men? Kevin Spacey, you know, like taking advantage of people who are like lower than you within your industry or like even if it's not entertainment, any kind of professional place, you're kind of like if it's somebody's boss and they're like, oh, like, can you watch me jerk off? It's like, depending on the environment, it might just be like, sure, I guess. And, you know, you might go along with it. So is it consent? Not really, because that person shouldn't be abusing their, you know, now, like I said, if Louis went up there and he was like, can I take my dick out and jerk off? And they were just like, yeah.
So what if this,
And he did it. I would say, did he do it like thinking it was completely okay, or did he do it not really giving a shit? And he intended to like just put them in a situation where it would be hard to say no. And I think that's going to get you to your real answer of if somebody's like predatory or not.
That's fair. What if I went to my boss, who was a woman, I was like, can I jerk off in front of you? Does that skew the power dynamic?
I mean,
She'll just be like, you're fired. Get the fuck out.
I think, yeah, you might, unless you were into you, then you might get fired. Yeah.
That's a risky move, then.
You should do that.
As my boss.
You should do that with your boss.
I should like, can I jerk off?
You should do that to fucking.
I should do that to the guy I'm paying for.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
just be like, you mind if I jerk off up here?
I should do that. Yeah. Like, do you mind if I,
Sounds kind of dangerous.
That's the one thing I keep seeing coming up. It's like, and I get it. He's at work and he's like, hey, because that was the way they were phrasing it. Like, he'd be really kind of nice about it and be like, hey, can I jerk off in front of you?
Hey, Louis?
Yeah.
You'd be like, you mind if I jerk? It's amazing. I'm going to jerk off. It's not good unless you say the N-word in a Louis impersonation.
Yeah, he does it.
It's the only way you can do it.
Dude, That is such a fucking odd Jones to have. Like I think about that about pedophiles too, where I'm like, it's like, yeah, pedophiles are horrible. Like I've said it before. If I was a president, I would kill them. Like I'd be like, all right, you're dead. If you get caught doing that, you're dead. That was what I would do, honestly.
You would give the death penalty to
Pedophiles? Yes. If they got caught like doing like diddling kids and shit, I would. I would be like, you can kill them. But my thing is like to have that Jones to be like, fuck, kids are so fucking hot. It's like,
yeah, it's a bummer.
Jesus Christ, man.
It's
a real bummer.
But that's my other part of it. It's like, well, there's 7 billion people in the world, so
yeah.
off the plank, fucking get the fuck out of here. That's my view.
Louis jerking off in front of people is, I don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
Even if it was consensual, I'd be like,
that's true.
Fucking weird.
Shane is very conservative with his sexual values, and
Well, no,
I mean, yeah, you don't have to
I
be
agree. It is weird.
comfortable with
and
it.
that's my
me
perspective. And my
I would not want to
experience.
see. I would definitely not want to see Louis C.K. jerk off.
Yeah.
Personally,
I've been put in the position by girlfriends where they're like, "Let me see you jerk off," and I don't like doing it. For
I
people.
did it once. It's terrible.
Oh, I feel so
I
weird,
did it over
man.
Skype and just had like my face turn red. I was like, I'm done now. It's terrible.
I don't like it at all.
it's a very no. It's really personal to let someone watch you masturbate. For sure.
Yeah, I don't fucking
Yeah.
like it, man. There's the gray area of consent, and I've said this before, never on the cast, but like having sex with a girl and touching her butthole, you can't fucking ask to touch someone's butthole. You can
But you can kind of feel it out.
Exactly. You can massage your way
Yeah.
in, but you can't be like, "Can I touch your butthole?"
But
They're
how
like,
about-
Yeah.
"No, dude, no."
Yeah,
How about
don't
if
say
you
that.
You can
spread,
get
too.
the
I
I mean, you
outside.
can say it, but it would probably be really
Get
funny.
the outside of it, and then they say
You can
no.
do the thing with your finger where you like kind of
Work
like where
your
you're
way
working,
over.
and if
Exactly.
she's not
Yeah.
into it, she'll be like, she'll move,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a reaction when somebody's near your
Exactly.
butthole.
But that was
and
one
you're
thing
not
I've always
feeling
wondered,
it.
like, because I've been like, yeah, you should just ask, but I'm like, if you're like doing stuff like that, I feel like it does take away a little bit to be like, "Can I suck your nipples?"
Would you mind
Like,
if I?
Well,
would
I
you
don't.
mind if I suck
I
on your
mean,
nipples?
And I'm not
you don't
saying,
have
like,
to
you should
say
just
it
go
like
full-
that. You could just. I mean, you could like if you're fingering around the butthole area, you could be like, "You like that?" Like,
True.
You know, and if
See, I can't do that. That's not my game to be like, yeah, you like that?
well, if you say it like that.
Yeah, what do you think of that? Huh? What do you think of that?
But no, that is true. There is, and again, that's like. That's the finesse factor, where you don't just like jam your finger up someone's butt and be like, "Oh, okay, my bad. Thought you'd fucking love that." So I guess
You should never just surprise finger somebody's butthole.
No,
for sure.
no.
That's-
Unless it's your
I had someone
friend.
I had a girl try that to me.
Unless it's your friend, you can fucking give him a Zuki.
like a
crease, little credit card. Little
that
fucking
actually.
boop.
You know what's weird about that?
But that's not like that's on that
That's on the outside.
Outside of the pants. However,
If you get under the pants, it's still funny.
That's
you know what's interesting?
when you just
know what's interesting?
finger
about
your
that?
friend's butthole unexpectedly.
Well, this is funny.
Give a
This is
little
I don't know. Do girls like sneak attack each other's buttholes like that? As friends?
I don't.
I'm saying
personally.
like over the sweatpants, like
yeah,
guys.
I've seen a few.
Guys kind of like lightheartedly sexually assault each other constantly, like
I've
dick
seen
grabs,
that, yeah.
dick
Well, it's just
grabs.
funny to watch somebody react.
It is kind of funny, but I noticed the butthole game. People play that in my college like dorm. Like you'd like there's like bunk beds, so you'd be climbing up, and someone would just like someone got me fucking good, like entered via sweatpants, and I was like, ugh. And I always said like I'm never playing this game. You guys are fucking weird. Once somebody got me, I became hell bent on getting people back.
Ooh.
So I got a lot of dudes.
That's
because
very
it's weird,
interesting.
yeah.
It's the idea of like someone who's been hurt before.
And
wants to
it's
hurt other
such a
people.
minor version
Yeah.
of it, but
I
got
children
someone
that have been assaulted.
I know.
Yeah,
and I just
you're
thought
very
about that
much
now.
like that.
It's like someone got me real good, and I was like, oh,
'Cause
and
you
I
got
laid there, and I was
violated.
like, ew.
Yeah.
And then I was like, as soon as I saw someone, I was like, fuck yeah.
Wait,
yeah,
you
yeah.
got creased and then felt violated?
Dude, they got me
You're
like
fucking
I was
gay,
climbing.
Dude. You're fucking gay as fuck.
I was climbing up a bunk
That's
bed.
like a total
I was
dude. If
full
somebody did
spread,
that to
and
me, I'd
someone-
be
So
like,
gay, dude.
I got penetrated.
Matt's gay.
wait. You have to. I'm confused. So you have to be gay for it to be a violation.
Matt got raped in college.
No, but you know what is funny though, because there is like that isn't the same though, because like dudes can get raped by a girl and literally wake up and be like.
Absolutely.
Like I've seen it happen to dudes. My friend, I was just out to dinner.
Happens
my
to a lot
friend,
of chicks too, where they wake up and they're like, fuck.
you think so?
Yeah, I think.
And like laugh, like we were literally. I
I
was.
don't know about full on fucking rape,
I
but I
was
bet
out
there's
to-
girls that wake up and are like, who the fuck is this guy?
Oh yeah,
God
yeah,
damn
yeah,
it.
yeah. That makes sense. There was a guy who I was talking to recently, and they were saying like they're calling it the rape of the dude's name, and there was a girl who was like the girl was like after him, and he was passed out, and he was kind of like no, I don't want to, and then he went to
She
sleep,
got him?
and my one friend opened the door and was like he's right in there. And like my friend, they were just laughing about it. He was like, "Yeah, dude, I totally assisted in this girl coming in and assaulting you." And he was like, "You're a fucking asshole."
Yeah,
and then that was it. They were like laughing. So it's
definitely,
totally different.
That's definitely. I mean, well, and that's the thing. It's like, yeah, the whole idea that men can't be, because it's like women are the ones who get raped. And men are the ones who rape. So it's funny.
Dude, though.
So it's funny when
it's funny
a woman, the idea that a woman,
it's hilarious.
But it's like she still fucking raped him. Like she violated him.
But it's not as consequential. It's like, you don't wake up and your like dick's all fucked up. And you're like, oh no. You just wake up and you're like, Jesus Christ.
I don't think that you have to have like your junk all fucked up for it to be rape or sexual assault.
Yeah, but there's not the. I don't think it's as like invasive.
Because we can't penetrate.
Well, I guess you guys
you
could.
got penetrated.
Fuck, I got penetrated, yeah.
But I mean, sexual assault doesn't have to be penetration. It can definitely be like
that's true.
I mean, it's still violent. I mean,
in a car at a bus stop.
It's
true.
It's like he blatantly was like no, and then
he passed
she
out.
did it anyway. And then there's the idea that women can't rape, so it's like this joke, but it's like, dude, like he definitely didn't want to fuck that girl.
Yeah,
and
I know. Yeah, I know another
Yeah.
guy who his teacher got him young when he was like 17. He was like living with his teacher's husband, or his teacher, and his wife started like groping him. He was like, at the time, he's like, this is awesome. He's like, 10 years later, I was like, that kind of fucked me up.
Yeah.
Fucking an old lady when I was like 16 years old or 17. Mm-hmm. So.
Who's that?
I'm not saying. Sworn to secrecy, dude.
Yeah, you should definitely not reveal your.
But that was something I thought was interesting. How I got butt blasted over sweatpants, and I was instantly like, I'm in the game now. I was like, I'm fucking playing.
And then
many fell.
Did you assault other men?
Oh, dude, I got like scores.
So I mean,
had to.
in a weird way, you can kind of see like it's like what's the word, like a microcosm of
butt assault, of male butt. Yeah. Oh yeah. I got what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. You were sexually assaulted in college by your roommate.
Yeah.
I mean, it is though, and dudes do that all the time where they like get like I see that too, and I'm just like. Why is this a game? I mean, it's one thing if like you're friends with people and that's just what you do and you all like it or not like it, but you think it's funny. But like, there should be some level of agreement.
I think there's a subconscious gay urge when guys do that.
Or it's like the fear.
Guys grab each other's balls.
No, it's funny. I've done that to people and it's fucking hilarious.
I'm saying
There's nothing gay about it.
Your subconscious mind.
But why is it?
Seeing somebody like
your subconscious mind does stuff that you don't understand. So it's like, why that game? You could spook
Matt
them.
tries to fucking convince everybody that he. All right, so Matt's a little gay,
No.
and he listened to one book, and since then he's been spouting off that everyone's gay.
No, I'm not. It has
Matt's,
nothing to do with that. I'm talking about the subconscious mind. It's nothing to do with that.
Hint of gay in him, and you could have started this when that guy blasted you. When that guy blasted you, when did you start looking at tranny porn?
When I was married.
Post blasting.
No, when I was married.
I think that guy blasted you right into it.
That was different.
Well, looking at porn is kind of like a different realm than sexuality.
Transsexual is porn.
I'm sorry that I'm shaming you right
That's
now.
marketed towards heterosexual men.
I'm sorry that I'm shaming you.
Well, it's all fetishized.
I mean, see how it came out? I
very...
pinned him and he just lashed.
Who?
You.
How'd you pin me?
With your subconscious mind being gay.
You did get very defensive.
That's what he does. No, well, that's because this is the fucking 12th week in a row ever since he heard this book. He's been acting like this.
A Billion Wicked Thoughts is a very good read.
Well, the thing is, it's like men have this whole fear of like being even like a tiny little bit gay, which is like which there's pressure on you
like Shane.
To not be gay, to be super masculine and all this.
I'm super fucking masculine.
It is interesting. It is interesting.
No, I don't feel that way at all. Like,
no, because I've definitely watched transsexual porn. I'm like, yeah, I've watched it, and it's like there's a feeling of like I've just gone beyond the realm. I'm gay. I'm fully I climbed. That's how it's perceived, as if you climbed over some wall and you're just in like the gay upside down for the rest of your life, and you're just like, what the fuck's going on?
Well, it's like the weird idea
all
that
my friends are like, Matt, where are you?
Yeah.
Sexuality is like just this thing that never fucking moves beyond like one thing. It's like, to me, like porn is just like watching people, no matter who they are. I mean, but I like to watch people, so I'm like, I don't care.
I'm with you.
What people they are. They could even be ugly half the time. And, you know.
Sometimes if you watch a nice amateur
porn, dude.
Yeah, sometimes that actually adds to it. When someone's like a realistic, it's not like a silicone type person.
All right, I gotta take a piss. Let's take a quick break.
Right, let's take a break. And we're back.
We're back with the Marxist feminist, Rachel Fagletto.
That's not true.
No, what I wanted to talk about was, and it doesn't have anything to do with the Metzger. Well, it has something to do with it, but just when people are like, you believe women every time. Like, people are like, you should do that?
Well, for me, what
gets
it is
kinda
like
crazy.
is that if you look at how often people only believe women, like when women say this thing that's happening is fucked up, people rarely believe it when it's just women saying what their experience was. It usually takes like at least some men and men of power to support them before people are like.
So, like, if a girl falsely accuses a guy of rape, guys can go to jail for that. And if it's just one girl's statement, right?
Sure, but
And then
the
people, like,
instances
always
of
believe that.
I don't think anybody's saying always believe women every single time. I think what we're saying is that more often than not, people don't believe or trust women's experiences. And it takes men to support us before other men listen almost every single time. So that's what's happening right now is almost every single time when women say, this thing happened, it was kind of fucked up. Men usually brush it off unless it's like especially if it's somebody within a circle that's like high in power or like somebody that people are close with. They're just like, they'll justify it because like we were saying before, when you like somebody or look up to somebody, you kind of go into denial. You're like, well, no, that's my friend and I don't think they would do that. So maybe it was a misreading. But like what happens, and I think what happens especially in comedy, because comedy is unbalanced, there's more men. There's way more men than women.
Yeah.
So what you have is the majority is men. You have a small, even though there's more women now than there were before, that's still a very small percentage. So what you have is fucked up things happening to women, which happens to us pretty much our whole lives. And then when we tell men, it often gets brushed off until finally it's like 5 or 10 women come out and say, no, this person did A, B, C. And then like a couple guys that are like, have enough authority to say it, and then everybody all of a sudden is like torches and like going to get this person. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, like people never just believe what we say happens to us. So if you have the majority of people being men and the minority being women, and you have like a bunch of men who are the
In
majority
comedy
that
right
don't
now.
trust women. Yeah, because I would argue that most men don't trust women's experiences of what happens to them alone. I will say that with confidence because I've been experiencing it pretty much my whole life. So when you have that, you create an environment where women don't feel safe even mentioning it half the time. So it's like, they're like, well, I tried to mention it and it kind of just got blown off. And then we're in this environment where a lot of times it's like, people are kind of like disrespectful or unprofessional, like not on the stage, but off the stage. So you kind of like breathe this environment from like the bottom up that allows for all the Louis to thrive. So I think that's really what it is. It's not like believe every single woman every time. I can tell you in my personal and professional life, I've seen women who have falsely accused or lied about it. And it's a very small handful and they're usually very mentally unstable, and that's like the tip of the iceberg among a bunch of other things. For the most part, no woman wants to fucking talk about being sexually assaulted publicly because all you're going to get is mostly backlash. The backlash will always outweigh any support you get, and it's fucking horrible.
Interesting. How many so doing stand up, if like what is like how many messages or like stuff like that do you get from comedians like a week that's just like weird shit being like, yo babe?
Oh, well, now that I stopped accepting every single friend request of people that had a microphone, that number has been reduced a lot.
People being like, stop, Mom.
Yeah, and with comedy, it's like, so here's one thing. When we talk about it like it's professional and you should handle it like almost like a work environment kind of thing where like talking to female comics should be held in some sort of... Look, see, that's what I think it gets weird, because a lot of times it's like, it's a shitty open mic, like Raven, for example, where everyone's just getting fucked up. And it's a bar. That's what it is. None of these people are fucking professional comics. We're not professionals. It's just a bunch of fucking weirdos that gather together to drink together and sit up there.
Yeah.
And so, like, if we're going to classify open mics as work, then a lot of that offstage behavior is crazy. Crazy unacceptable. fucking.
Oh yeah.
So like
The fact that
but
everyone's
if you
hammered.
classify it as a fucking bar where everyone's drinking, it's a little less.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, the truth is it's somewhere in the middle because it is a bar where everybody's drinking, but it also is a place where we're all working on our craft. Well, we should be working on our craft to eventually,
not have to
hopefully,
be
like,
there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Be making money. So I think it's like there's nothing wrong with like having casual conversation over beers, but it's like how are you really addressing women as a whole, like in that environment?
Yeah.
Is it hostile? Is it disrespectful? Is it rude? If you're flirting, is it a mutual flirtation or is it like, I mean, if two people are flirting, I mean, that fucking happens.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that, but I mean, just kind of the general, like the space for, yeah, it's hard. There is no
it
HR.
is interesting.
There is no, and it is at bars, but it's like this whole kind of dynamic when someone like oversteps and a girl's like I know like a girl come to me like, yo, that guy fucking like women do that all the time. We're like, that guy's not, don't do that. He's like a creep,
Yeah.
but like if you tell other guys, like if they don't know him, they'll be like, oh, fuck that guy. But if they know him, it's like, oh no, that's just so-and-so. He just, and that's sort of like what happens. So women come in, they just learn like, this is what it is. I'm just going to try to
Also,
avoid
though,
that.
I've noticed most of the male comics that do open mics are stupid. Not stupid, but they're fucked up individuals. Like across the board, they're
Yeah.
fucking weird dudes. And I think a lot of the women that do it are fucking weirdos.
Most
it's just a lot
most
of
comedians
fucking-
we're all weirdos.
Yeah,
definitely
it's a lot
for
of
sure.
fucking weird people packed into a room, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. It's very hazy when it comes to etiquette and behavior because a lot of these people don't have fucking social lives outside of this, and probably never really did. And I don't know. It's
This
weird.
is well, this is the thing I find weird because I always see that language of like it's an abuse of power and these people are taking their power and they're using it over people. But then I'll see a lot of people like when like the Louis C.K. thing happened. I read a bunch of articles. One girl wrote an article in Vice about like how I tried to break the story, but no one listened to me and almost cost me my career. And a lot of her article was like they're like what was she saying? What's the name of the entertainment company? It has like Kevin Hart, Aziz Ansari,
Yeah.
Louis C.K., whatever it's called. She's like, and then they would never even give me the time of day. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're not on the league of Kevin. Like, people
Yeah.
use that kind of thing to bolster their own. You know what I mean? It's like
Sometimes these
there's-
accusations seem weaponized, and that's what kind of like we were talking
Or-
about that fucking weirdo Roy Moore.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
are
It's
they
a weird time, and like with Trump and Bill Clinton, he didn't have a problem with it until they were having a fucking debate, and he could bring those victims to the fucking debate. He
Well, I
was
mean-
cool chilling with him before that. Like
Yeah.
these types of accusations that seem now, obviously at our level, there's not going to be that, but like I don't know, sometimes like just odd choices of when to come forward, and it just does enough to just be like, wait, that's odd.
Well, because
There's
it's
something
like
off about
at
it.
the time. Well, I mean, I think it says it right there. She tried to do something and then was shut down, which was happening before her and before her. So
Yeah.
that's literally, and the higher up it is, that's literally why it's going to take. I was actually surprised it came out as soon as it did with Louis. I thought it would go longer without
Yeah.
coming out.
I didn't
but
think
it's
it
like,
ever would.
But I thought he was going to apologize eventually. I figured
I
he was.
think it was, but again, all I had heard was he asked, they said yes, they didn't really mean to say yes, and he jerked off in front of them.
I don't,
That was-
I don't believe they said yes. I don't think
That's
that was
all.
a
That's
thing.
all that I was.
Yeah.
Told.
Yeah, what I read, it was more like one girl said no and walked away pissed off.
Yeah,
And that's like with the Courtney Cox or David Arquette or whatever. They were like, they told them and they were like, no, just let it keep going. Who cares?
yeah,
And then there was a bunch of them, but
whatever.
I just feel like when I see these things, I feel like there's a lot of people who almost kind of like snatch the crumbs from the bottom of it, where they're like, "Well, this is me. I should be." They'll like complain that they're not represented by like a huge talent agency that takes like top. And it's like, dude, I get that you try to break the story, but that's you as a journalist, not as a stand-up comedian.
Yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's a weird because a lot of people will use the terms like power, and it's about a lot of times people are trying to grab power for themselves through bad things that happen. That's the sense. I get.
Sure, that's definitely true, but it doesn't make it any less true that a journalist tried to break the story and was.
No, that's
shut
true.
down by
But
the-
when like they take a story like that and then slant it to it's basically all about themselves and how like they're getting overlooked and like they're almost saying like that's why they're not getting what they're supposed to be getting in comedy. There was
maybe
a
I
Vice
read-
article and they were trying to say like and people wouldn't even talk to me and it's just like Really, that's
well,
what's
that
going
sounds
on, or
like
is it
just talking about being blacklisted almost. I mean, it's like I tried to break the story and it was the wrong one. I shouldn't have done that because now I'm getting.
I hear what you're
pretty
saying.
much-
Like,
But it was
she
like-
got blacklisted, and she's saying she got blacklisted because she tried to break the story instead of maybe looking in the mirror and she wasn't funny.
Well, then that was the other thing too of like the comedy duo. Where like, yeah, and we couldn't even like send our material to that talent guy, and it's
That-
like, dude,
I've seen that duo. They've overreached.
I just
That's
pulled
what I'm
up.
saying. I'm like-
I just
I'm like,
pulled
you
up the article. P.S. about whether or not it just says Louis C.K. asked if he could take out his penis. The women said they thought it was a joke and laughed it off, and then he really did it. He proceeded to take off all his clothes and get completely naked and start masturbating.
Yeah, and they just screamed. That apparently they were just like,
They
oh my
were like
God,
kind of
what the fuck is
laughing
going
and like
on?
holding each other or something. 'Cause it's like, what the fuck?
it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know he said it in his apology that he's like, I did always ask, and they always said yes.
Did he say that? in
No,
his
he didn't say
apology?
they always said yes. He said I always asked. That's how I justified it.
Oh,
he said
okay.
I always
Yeah,
asked.
All right.
Yeah, Louis
Yeah.
shit the bed. Louis did shit
Look,
the
I'm not
bed.
defending Louis.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that was what I thought happened, and I think it's a weird line of if you have yes as a consent.
I don't think
Yeah,
he got
Legally,
yeses.
what the fuck can we do?
Yeah, no.
There's nothing legally you can
There
do.
weren't yeses. Like
that's,
I think
that's separate to the Louis C.K. thing. That makes
But
sense too. It is.
Let's back off this for a second.
What?
The sexual assaults. I want to before we do this because we got you here because this has been bothering me,
Okay.
especially with comedy and women in comedy. A lot of the times I hear women say they need to work twice as hard as men to be successful. Mm-hmm. Have you heard that?
I've heard that.
Doesn't that seem a little crazy?
No, it doesn't seem crazy.
It doesn't?
No, it's very true.
You think it's very true?
Yeah, it's very true.
See, I think it could be wrong.
Based on
Just all right. So, like, I've seen comics. I don't know. Is it because I've had this debate with a female comic before and she has really good credits and all that, but it's like, well, her thing is audiences don't like female comics. Like, if a lady walks on the stage, the entire audience is like, ugh.
it depends on the audience.
But like clubs,
But what happens
typically.
I would argue not that they don't like a female comic, is that when a female comic walks on, they're surprised because they don't see it that often. And they're always looking at her first because we're always looked at based on being female. So
Okay.
if we're like feminine or attractive, we're going to get looked at how attractive we are. If we're not super feminine, maybe not stereotypical attractive, we're going to be looked at that way. We're always going to be looked at on a spectrum of how hot we are by most people, men and women. So you're being looked at before you do. As a woman, you're always just being looked at in this sexual way, no matter what you actually look like. People are figuring out if you're fuckable. It's just a thing.
Okay.
So you kind of have to overcome that because women aren't typically seen as comedians and they're not seen as people who make people laugh. Men are. Men make women laugh. That's the whole
Yeah, men are
stereotype. And women look for funny men. So when you see a woman go up, and a lot of people, even women I've seen over the years, have said they just don't think that many women are funny. So I know anytime I get up on a stage,
Yeah.
a bunch of people are like, let's see if she's funny.
Yeah,
I
but
know
feel
that
like
that's
every, I
what's-
feel like every like so it's like I was doing a lot of black shows, and it's like I'd come out and I would see people be like pff, and like pull their phones out. So it's like I think people do kind of deal with like I don't know. That's when, and then like I'll come out sometimes in stage and like I can feel people look at me like this guy's a douchebag. And I've asked before, like, do I look like a douche? And everyone just laughs because they're like, yeah, you kind of do.
Sure.
So I think everyone's judged
But how
like
about-
that.
Everyone is, but it's not the same. It's
Really?
definitely not the same for
harder
men. And it's like,
for
and,
women.
and for women, you're really looked at like a lot of people are, especially men, are like, do I want to fuck her? Like that is like that is what most men think when they
I
see.
think that's
like,
kind of inescapable. I think that's like
right. It's inescapable.
Oh, yeah,
So when you
fuck.
walk on stage, it's like I already know that I have to like really get past that because I already know they're trying to figure out if they want to fuck
Yeah.
me. So I'm like, I have to just plow past that.
So it's human nature is a roadblock, right?
Socialized human nature.
Yes.
Well, no. What do you mean? What do you mean socialized?
Well, it's the way we're socialized. I mean, I don't believe that people are just born looking at men and women that way. We teach them to look
Well,
at
that's-
women
I
that
mean,
way.
I
I
think
mean,
there's-
yeah.
No,
so,
I mean,
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
definitely
We're
like,
getting off
we
of
don't
Shane.
need
So
to-
Shane wanted to
but-
say that he thinks. So you think women don't have to work twice as hard?
No, I don't think they have to work twice as hard. But like if we were looking at just on stage, you can't be like comedy's unfair because the crowds don't like women.
Well, comedy is unfair, but it just is unfair.
Yeah,
I mean,
but then,
that's
like, so let's say, but I see women getting opportunities that if those same results that they get every time they're on stage, they were a man, they wouldn't be getting those opportunities.
What do you mean?
So, like, I don't know, a comedian goes on, a lady comic goes on, crowd likes her a little bit, a male comic goes on, crushes. That lady comic is, there's a lot of bad female comics results-wise, and by results I mean crowd likes them or not, that are getting things at a pretty alarming rate. Not alarming, but outside of their talent.
Well, here's the thing. When you say bad female comics, do you mean like female, like how many years in are you saying?
I mean, I could, and this is a preference thing, you know, so, but like, I don't know, I could turn on a special. There's not like, it could be any level. People want female comics on their shows. Clubs ask me all the time, like, do you know any funny females? And they're a lot of times they get pushed too far into the industry that they don't belong there yet.
And you don't think that happens to any men?
I think that does happen to a lot of men, but not at the same rate.
So you think women get pushed into the industry more than men get pushed into it when they're not ready?
Not numbers-wise.
Right.
But talent-wise.
So, well, talent
and crowd
proportionally?
Crowd results is all I'm talking about.
Okay.
So the fact that clubs will be like, give me a fun, like there's
like
clubs
Gabriel
specifically
Iglesias
be like,
give me a
funny
funny woman, but
funny
how many
girl.
clubs have more women working there than men?
None.
But
exactly.
But why?
Because they need a
business.
token because there just isn't as many women.
It's also, if they could make money off of a female comic, they would use them. It's not like they're like, we're not taking women because we don't like them. It's like because the fucking audiences don't enjoy it as much as a male comic.
So what I'm saying is, it's a business, right? It's a business model. So what I'm saying is, we know that, and we have to overcome that. So like when clubs are looking for women, because like there's pressure now to be diverse, they're looking for women. There aren't a lot. What I always say is when people are like, well, oh no, this person is always like, do you know any women? Do you know any women? Why do you have to look for women? There just aren't as many in
Not
the
a lot
scene.
of women do stand-up.
There's a lot more. I can tell I've been doing stand-up 5 years, which is like nothing, I know. But in the 5 years, I have seen a lot more women start and stay. I'd say in maybe the past 2 years than when I first started, there was like no women hardly.
Yeah.
So I would say that the culture is changing, and it's going to take some years to cultivate the newer women, just like the newer male comics, but there just aren't as many of them. So when you're saying bad female comics, it's like, do you mean like somebody not even a year in? Because like everybody is bad.
Bad female comics wasn't exactly
You
what
mean
I
like
wanted to say.
Netflix specials, basically?
Yeah, it's shit like that.
I thought you were talking about like open mics. I was like,
I'm
I mean,
not worried about open mics at all. I'm not even worried about it, but I'm saying like I've heard the conversation that women need to work twice as hard, and it's like, well, what do you mean by work twice as hard? Because are we talking about like who makes the room laugh harder, or are we talking like
it might be.
I just
It's
don't
that.
understand why.
I also think all comics, no matter what, think that they have the short end of the straw. Because it's like, as a white guy, I'm like, what the fuck? Black guys can say anything and get away with it. I can't say half the shit, and I still got to be funny. And there's black guys being like, I don't get any fucking parts. I think almost every group of comics is like, fuck, I'm fucked.
But then a female
now that I
comic,
think about it.
and people can go out and be like, we have to work twice as hard. And if I said that, they'd be like, what the fuck? What are you, nuts?
Yeah.
What are you, an asshole?
It's,
And it's like, well, I can give you some fucking examples, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, and it's like, and I don't know what it's like to not, like, there's things that you can say, like, that are going to just be funnier coming out of you. And I'm not saying that you, and I'm saying,
of this industry is who is the funniest. So just because it's unfair that somebody's allowed to be, that someone naturally is funnier.
Well, are they naturally funny, or how people perceive what's
how
funny?
people perceive.
Right. And I'm saying this to you. I think you're funny.
Perception.
I think you're very funny. So I'm just putting that out there. But I also think there's things that you can say that if I were to say that, the crowd would not respond to me the way they respond to you. And that's just the way it is.
But
That's me
but
and Shane too. Shane can say stuff that I can't.
Yeah, but that's just that's the game. Like that's like
Sure.
That's like we were playing golf. We're playing on the same course, but because I'm a man, I can hit it farther, and so they move your tees up a little. And I don't know.
Well, it's not necessarily.
handicap in
It's
golf.
not about physical
there's no
strength.
fucking
But the thing
handicap there.
is,
It's like-
majority of crowds are going to like accept men comedians
Exactly.
before more quickly and faster and more openly than they're going to accept most female comics.
Yes.
So we have to do that. We have to work within the weird sexual harassment shit happening to us all the time, plus the having to like overcompensate for that. No one's saying, I think here, what I think happens when this argument comes up is like men or white men or straight white men feel like, oh, they're saying that we're not really funny. We're not saying that. If there's anything I say to female comics who are just starting and like ask me questions, I'll be like, comedy's hard for everybody. It's really fucking hard. Everybody, it's fucking hard. It sucks. It makes you want to kill yourself. Everybody does bad at first. It's hard for everybody. As a woman, it's going to be fucking harder. So I'm just letting you know. And it's not fair, but that's the way it is. Like, be aware of it, pick your battles,
it's
but
harder
it's not
to
fair.
make audiences laugh as a woman.
Yes.
Yes, but we're in the business of making audiences laugh.
Right.
So
we have to work harder because
Okay.
audiences don't want to
But then-
laugh at us
but
initially.
Then I'll see women in comedy that, without sounding too much of a douche, but like if me and them were on the same show, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to do better. And then they go out and get things that I can't even come close to getting.
How many women are getting things that more men aren't getting than women?
Well, there's way more men doing stand-up.
That's what I'm saying.
it's
Like
easy.
proportionally, it's not like women are like fucking taking all the things
No,
and
of course
taking all
not.
the
Of course not.
opportunities. They're
No.
just getting more now because they're fucking more of us and we're working harder. Even let's say, Shane, let's say you're the funniest person in the world.
Yes, let's say I'm Louis
Okay?
CK. I'm
Let's
Louis
say
CK.
you're the funniest
Yes.
person in the world. So what is it about like women? No one's as funny as you, Shane. No men, no women, nobody's as funny as you. So
Yes.
why is it more women getting more opportunities that bothers you more than any man who's getting an opportunity that's not as funny as you?
Them getting opportunities wouldn't bother me as much as somebody being like, here's what I think is confusing about it, and I'm sorry I didn't answer your question, but it's like saying it's harder to be a female comic because people don't think women are funny just seems like that'd be like, yeah, it's unfair that it's hard for me to play basketball because I'm white. And black guys do good at basketball, and it's, I should be on the Knicks anyway.
Yeah, but the audience, the people watching basketball don't affect your ability to that's a physical skill.
Yeah.
So you can either play basketball or you can't.
What
Their
if
reaction,
you can make an audience laugh or you can't?
but your skill still depends on a room full of people. Whereas if you're playing basketball, the audience don't impact your ability to play the sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's just and no matter what in this conversation, I'm going to lose.
I'm not trying to fight you. Yeah,
I don't think
or
you
win.
are.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I'm going to sound bad and like a dickhead. But that's
Well, I'm glad we're having.
yeah.
I want you to say what you're thinking because I
Yeah.
think it's like people do need to hear that, and I think it's like, again, like I said, when the conversation comes up, I feel like a lot of men feel like, oh, women are saying like we're not fun, like men aren't funny and they're funny. It's like we're not saying
no.
that.
I don't think
like,
anyone. I don't think women are saying men aren't funny. I think if anything, obviously, men are saying women aren't funny. Obviously, that seems to be the clear dynamic there.
Well, yeah, I think you're more or less, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying like there's almost like a cultural, there's like a thing they're trying to fill, where it's like they're trying to make everything more diverse, and they're being like, we need more women, we need more this. So you're seeing slots filled with unfunnier people who kind of ascribe to this thing that's in demand culturally.
Yeah.
Which,
what I mean?
which in a sense, like I've seen plenty of like men who are not as funny get opportunities as a norm.
Yeah.
That other women who are funnier don't get, and it could, a lot of times it's visibility. It's just like who people know, but it happened like unfunny men get opportunities all the time. So sometimes unfunny women are going to get them, but it's not like there's a shortage of unfunny men. And I think again, like
There's a ton of unfunny men.
Yeah, there could be
There's
a
a-
POV type thing, to where like I was saying before, when you're a white comic, like fucking black guys have it so easy.
That's all I think it is.
well, and
it
even
could be
like
a POV thing to where like even
But
you know,
you can't say that.
what do you mean?
Like,
No, I'm saying for everyone.
As a straight white guy, you can't be like, well, I think everybody's probably thinks they have it the worst.
But I'm saying for everyone now, it's probably just kind of like I'm
Yeah, I
like,
know, but
this fucking chick has a special,
then-
she sucks, and you see a guy and you're like, this fucking guy sucks. You know, it makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
well, yeah, and I know what you're saying. And I try. I mean, for me, it's like I look at every. Yeah, it's like I can look at a guy even if I don't like his comedy and I don't like his style. If he makes the room laugh, I'm like, well, he's doing his job.
Yes.
And I need to get and anytime.
That's all that matters.
Like the first time I went into the suburbs and my shit didn't work, and I watched this guy like kill telling like racist and sexist jokes.
Yeah,
I was
dude,
like,
that was like, yeah.
I was like, I
did a
have to
show
get even. It was Shane. No.
No, I remember seeing
but
that
yeah.
going out to the suburbs and just being like, what the fuck?
And I tell women that too. I'm like, you have to, and it's still hard, but like now I have like a 15-minute set I can do in the suburbs that's not too controversial and I can make people laugh. And it's like, you have to fucking overcome that.
I'll give
And
you
it's-
in the suburbs. I'll give you that. To where if you're like, I hate performing for older people pretty much. But like as a girl, I could see like 60-year-olds being like, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
not,
you
dude.
can't tell. Well, if you tell any sex jokes, you have to like really ease into it, and it
Yeah.
can't be that
see
explicit.
it,
Whereas
yeah.
guys can go up and be like, "I was jerking off," and they're like, "Bah," and I'm just like, "Fuck
yeah.
everybody."
Well, I just
yeah.
I just did a show with Brandon Vincent Jackson
Yeah.
in Delco, and he went before me, and they fucking hated him.
That's a tough
'Cause he
one.
was like,
in
I'm
Delaware
gay.
County, yeah.
And was
Wow.
saying shit like that, and this is a room full of like 40, 50-year-old white people.
Well, they're already like.
There was a
all
guy
right,
in the front that was like, "This fucking sucks. I'm out of here." And then I went on next, and I was like, "Yeah, fuck Brendan for being gay, right? Come on, guys, like me."
Oh yeah, you did your set about that on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's
Sunday.
yeah.
That is interesting because in Delaware County, it's weird enough to where they're like, all right, black comics probably pretty funny. He's like, I'm gay, and everyone's like, and they're like,
Yeah.
what the
They're
fuck's
like,
going
that
on
was
here?
too many layers of privilege. Not there.
But
Sorry.
Back to what the fuck I'm trying to say.
I know what
It's
you're saying.
impossible to say.
And no
also-
one's saying that men don't work. That's the thing too. Is like we're not saying nobody's saying that men don't work hard. Like we know everybody fucking works hard. This is fucking hard.
Yeah, but
Comedy's the
twice
worst.
as hard is the thing. It's like, because if you're working to your full capacity and you're like, someone's going twice as hard as me, and you're like, get the fuck out of here.
Imagine, like, literally, imagine,
yeah.
like, every time you step anywhere, everybody's fucking looking at you. Imagine going places, like, comedians who don't know you shake everyone's hands around you, don't shake your hand. Imagine everybody assumes you're somebody's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's, like, the whole just comedy being late night and, like, you have to get home and you have to deal with all, like, it's just not. It's not women friendly.
You're saying there's
you're-
more
It's
mental.
definitely not
There's more
female
mental.
friendly.
There's
There's
more mental duress.
the
you're saying.
logistics of it, you have to you either have to take a cab home, it's either more expensive or it's
Yeah,
more
yeah.
dangerous physically. Even being in the environment can be more dangerous physically, and then you have to like deal with like people being kind of gross. You have to deal with like weird messages of like people booking you and then hitting on you.
Yeah.
Like, so there's all that, and then plus I still have to like look professional and like walk this weird line. So I'm not, again, it's like nobody's saying you don't work hard, and I would argue like a black female comic works like 4 times as hard as I do. Like there's shit that is like no matter how many layers you put on there, it's just is what it is.
Yeah.
So
There's
See, I'm not-
working hard's equated with like mental duress you take on, basically. Saying like the more stuff you have to deal with equates to.
Yeah,
like,
I don't look at it as like who's the most oppressed or who has it the hardest. And I know that's kind of a cunty way to say what you just said, but I'm just talking straight. Who the fuck gets the room to laugh should be on.
sure,
and that's what
and no
bothers
one's
me.
saying but
'Cause
no
I think
one's
a lot of times
saying
that doesn't happen.
you don't think that like men who murder every time don't get booked
What do you mean?
at or let's say at would you say like men that are doing well on stage every single time are getting consistently booked less than like really unfunny female comics?
Not
like on the
really
same rate?
unfunny, but yeah.
It can happen. I won Philly's
Mm.
Funniest, so I didn't get booked for shit. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple weird shows, but it wasn't like people were like, oh, here's this dude. But
People
again,
might have thought you were out of their league.
No, I mean, I'm not talking about like
That's
Philly.
what I like to try to think.
I'm not
the
talking about
reason
like
I don't
Philly
get
open
booked
mics, but
on-
I'm also like, I put zero effort into seeking, you know what I mean? So I'm not the best example of that.
You didn't network or
I do literally, I like kind of feel weird about
It is
like that.
visibility. I mean, that is a thing.
True,
too.
that is
Yeah,
what
it's
you're
like
saying.
showing your face, and then people feeling like I know sometimes like I still run some divey bar shows, and it's like there's times where I'm like, I'm not going to ask this person who does this and that because they're not going to want to come here and do this on a Friday night for like no money. So,
but as far as the shitty comics, like let's say you turn on Netflix and see a shitty male comic, chances are he's doing it to a fucking arena, and he sucks. There's that fucking what's that guy with the cowboy hat that's doing Larry the Cable Guy, basically.
Fuck, I don't know.
He's got a special on right now. It's like, Here Comes the Truth. And he's like,
what?
It's fucking awful. But it's an arena. Like, he's...
Yeah.
And it's just like Amy Schumer. I think she's funny, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's still a fucking...
Well, and you have a bunch of
she's
people...
got an arena. I can't fucking knock
and they're
that.
of your fans,
But
so
then,
anything
like,
you say is...
When I hear somebody... I don't want to fucking say the wrong thing here.
It's
but
fine.
like,
Just say... No,
like
be
if somebody's
totally
like,
open.
Tig Notaro's in the top 10 comics right now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she's not. You can see the results. Now, obviously, if that's your opinion, you can say fucking...
Once you get
I
that,
think she's funny, but
#1.
I'm not totally familiar.
yeah,
like,
once
I'm
you get
just
that
not
big, you have
familiar
your
with
fan
her.
base. So it's like, once you have 50,000 people, like that's my favorite.
Or like, all right, so I watched...
I think that's
I watched
harder
the
with famous
stand-ups.
comics,
I watched the
'cause-
stand-ups when they did all the, like, 6 or 7 things. There's female comics on there that bomb. And it's like, you're still, like, just consistently, like, I don't know.
No,
It's hard for me to comment on like famous comedians because I think that's a lot of like what
you've done
perception.
to get there.
Well, and
Sure,
also
sure.
like what you're shown. So it's like I also feel like if you're in an arena full of people like who want to see you, you could be like making
you could
fart
suck.
noises and they'll be laughing.
You could be
so.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, literally.
You could have an arena and people are like, can't really...
That's been my takeaway. I
doing
think
it.
we're all locked into our POV. It's just we're all just kind of like, dude, this
couldn't
is...
agree more.
Yeah.
And it's just, it sucks to have this conversation and not... Like, I feel guilty about even being like, well, I'm fucking funny and I don't get this fucking shit.
No,
but
that's
it sucks
real,
because
yeah.
then I go, I see the fucking results.
Yeah.
Like, I go do stand-up a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck am I not doing that so-and-so's doing?
Well,
that
what
they're
kind of
getting all this
shows
stuff?
like are you trying to get on that you feel like women are getting on more? And
That
I don't mean to
women are
name
getting
specific
on-
shows.
No,
Yeah,
that-
I'm not trying
that
to tell you.
women
to
are getting on more, but just like how good I would have to be to get Just for Laughs versus how good a female has to be. And by good, I mean crowd results.
I mean, you've
Every
done
time.
you've done shows with them, and you're like, I did better. Why
I've
did you
seen
get just
people
for
that
Laughs?
have gotten Just for Laughs, and not that that's the fucking be all end all, but I'm not even on the fucking radar. Like they Facebook messaged me and were like, "Can we get a tape?" Meanwhile, there's female comics out there that, like, how funny I need to be to get that. They don't need to be that funny to get that.
Yeah, but that's when it gets
And by
into...
funny, I mean crowd results.
So in that specific place, would you say that there's like men getting those spots in that same
Not a
place?
lot of straight white guys getting that. Mm-hmm. That if you're a straight white guy getting stuff, you got to be pretty fucking. You got to be twice as funny.
You think
Interesting.
so?
Well,
I
there's...
think.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the show. So like, also, is it like is it like a
festival. It's like
crowd
any
thing?
festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, any festival.
Okay, so
It's
a
also
festival.
it goes into like
And
stand,
I
the
don't- I
whole
was-
point
I
of
feel like
stand-up-
with festivals, also they're sometimes just looking for
Diversity.
they're just looking for a certain thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Like-
with stand up, it's like you got to get as funny as you can, and then it's like you have people being like, "All right, who can we use that we
Yeah.
can put for shows, make money off of."
Yeah.
So it's one of those
Yeah,
things where
they're-
it stops translating into like how funny are you? It's like, what do you look like? You would fit well into this. Perfect. Let's go.
Yes. And
But
nobody.
being funny helps you rise to the cream of that crop. To Where you're
Absolutely.
taking.
And I'm not saying that like you couldn't, and I'm not saying that like unfunny everybody gets booked before funny people, of course. I just think that the rate it absolutely, there's no way that like unfunny women are getting booked at a higher rate than unfunny men over funny men. Does that
No,
make
that's-
sense? I'm sorry, I got
Yeah,
lost
no,
in
I'm
what I
trying
was
to do
saying.
the
No,
algebra
but
on that
here's,
one.
Yeah.
here's all I'm saying. Just again, how good I need to be, and by good again, I mean crowd results. So like every show I go, people are like, that was the best set, that was the funniest set. Mm-hmm. Versus how funny a female comic needs to be to get something like Just for Laughs or a Conan spot or something like that. Mm-hmm. I need to be I need to fucking murder constantly. Versus a female comic in the same boat that like. I don't think she needs to do as well as I do, crowd results wise.
So look at the spots that you're talking about, like whatever they are. how many women have filled those spots versus how many men have filled those spots.
Okay. And how many of those... But I'm just talking about right now.
But that's what
I'm not talking about the fucking 80s or 90s or
no, okay,
2000s.
even in the past like
This
2
year.
years or something.
I bet you it's 60-40 men in an industry where 80 to 90% of the people that do stand up are men.
So it's still going to be more men.
Seems disproportionate.
And are the men that
female.
are getting the spots, would you say that they're funnier than you or not as funny as you?
I mean, I don't want to use me as an example, but
But you
do
are,
I just
though.
mean funny or not?
I'm only asking you because you are using you as an example. Like you're saying,
okay.
all right, so you're
Do
saying
I-
these women are getting spots that I don't get because like I'm funnier than them. I'm getting
right, no,
calculated
see,
results.
that's
So I
not
want to
what
know
I'm-
is do the men getting those responses?
No, I'm not using.
No, I know
that's
what
not
you're
getting
saying.
me. I'm not. I don't want to be the guy on this to be like.
I'm not
yes,
trying to-
I'm funnier than fucking so and so. I'd butt fuck Martin Urbano. I'd fucking.
Who's
I don't
Martin
some
Urbano?
fucking
Go
dude.
back to the thing where
I'm
Shane's the
not-
funniest person in the world.
I'm not
I'll
doing.
strangle you.
I'm only using the example that you gave me. So the example
No,
you
my
gave.
example was
yeah.
me and just a random person. Like, so do I need to? How funny would I? I've seen garbage on there, obviously.
From just women, or were the men
no,
garbage
not
too?
just women. There's a lot of bad men on there.
So then, why is the focus on
Well,
women? If
because
there's
I don't hear those men saying I need to work twice as hard.
okay,
I
so
do
wait,
hear
I'm
the
not
female
following you. I'm
comics.
just not following.
The female comics that do make it are sitting there saying, as a female comic, it's really hard. I needed to be so fucking good to get this.
And you don't think they did just because in this one instance, in this
Not
one
just that one
slot,
instance,
they
maybe
got.
I know them.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think it goes back into the thing of everyone thinks like,
Everybody, yes.
everyone magnifies their own struggle. So
Yeah,
I think
but
that's
at least I have results in front of me to be like, we're on the same show.
But you keep talking
A
about
lot.
results, but you're also not
Results, I
looking
mean
at
crowd.
proportional results. So it's like you're focusing in on women getting
Well, that's
things
because
that
we're
you don't
talking
think is
about
funny.
women need to work twice as hard.
Yeah, but how often? What about the men that are the majority of men that are unfunny that have been getting those spots for years? So why is it now? It's like now that women are getting those spots, now it's a thing.
Well, I wasn't there when they were doing that. And
you're arguing against kind of the mechanized push to be like we need women, like kind of like get in.
well,
you
it's
know.
not just women; it's any diversity in that
Yeah,
sense,
yeah,
or
yeah.
anything like that, where affirmative action is more important than results and being funny.
I would say it's a lot of both. Well, here's the thing is like, it's not hard to find a diverse lineup just depending on where you're looking. And then the other thing I would argue is that when you have newer comics starting out, there's different ways that like newer male comics might be encouraged versus newer female comics. Like
I've heard that a lot too.
Like
and
when
I don't know.
like if a newer guy gets up and bombs, it's kind of like, oh, you're just new, like keep at it. If a girl goes up and bombs, it's like her third time. It's like, see, women aren't funny, and that's just what you're gonna get. So you're cultivating these.
I know a lot of fucking guys. Every fucking open mic I go to, I'm like, I don't think that's.
Well, there's
fair.
a
but I've heard that. I've heard that a lot.
Going back
So
to the
maybe
thing
that
you
is-
said, well, the thing you said about men not shaking like women's hand sometimes at comedy. I've gotten after like the last year or so, I've gotten increasingly wary of being like,
Yeah.
I'll see new girl comics
Contact.
and I just like I don't even want to look at them because
Yeah, I
it's
don't wanna
like
talk.
there's been so much stuff where it's like this person did this, they made me uncomfortable. And I'm not saying it's invalidated, but my whole thing is like I don't even want to talk to you because I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be like, "What's up? How you doing, babe?" But I'm like, I'm just going to stay over here, mind my own fucking business, and I don't want anything
I
to
think
do with
that's.
anyone.
I mean, that's fine, but I'm more talking about like when
Support.
you're like anywhere, like when like when you're meeting people for the first time. I guess like in a show or something like that,
Sure.
or somebody
That's
who
true,
works
yeah,
at the
yeah.
venue. Like, just I've definitely had that happen to me where like I'm the only girl on a show and like nobody realizes I'm a comedian.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, that
kind
makes
of
sense.
thing. So
That makes sense.
I mean, I get mistaken for door guy a lot.
Yeah, I get in real life when I
People be
tell
like, "Look at
people
this
when I tell
giant
people I do
idiot."
stand up, they go, "You do stand up?" They're like, "I would never see that." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"All right." So- but I know I can see what you're saying.
I don't want to. Again, I sound like and I say this shit all the time.
What?
I keep talking about like how I'm fucking funny, and I'm not.
You are
getting
funny.
a
You do.
fucking
You're
fair fucking
funny. You are
shit.
funny.
and nobody's saying you're not funny.
And no, I don't
Yeah.
think anybody's saying that, but I feel stupid saying it. I feel
I
bad
know what you
being
mean.
like,
You don't wanna be
I do so
boastful."
much better than these fucking chicks
Yeah.
that are getting shit. That's not how like I don't want to come off as jaded and fucking pissed because it really.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where I really don't think about it. Like I'm not really fucking worried about it. I just need to be good, and that's it. And at first though, it was like, wait, they got what? Like so and so's on fucking TV.
Yeah.
It's like, I just did a show with them. They fucking suck.
Yeah.
And not just women. Anybody.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that definitely can go both ways.
But rarely have I seen a straight white masculine comic that I've seen. I'm like, they were on fucking TV? They suck. That rarely happens. In my experience.
Yeah.
But that's maybe because that's who I think's funny. But I think that tends to also be who everyone thinks is funny.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I see mostly still, even with like more women doing comedy, I still see mostly straight white male comics.
Straight white male comics.
I'm used to it. Like
a lot
that's
of
what
them
I'm
are
used to
kinda
seeing.
Beta for a fucking lack of a.
I mean, I
don't
think
know how else
ones
to
who are doing
describe it.
well now.
The ones who are getting booked now are wearing a fucking sweater and horn.
When I was in Brooklyn, that was like in order to like counteract your white guyness, you had to kind of be a pussy, like not to be like a dickhead. Like if I walked on, I was like, hey, what's up? Everyone just be like, literally would groan, and I'm like, I didn't even fucking say anything. So that's just like a different setting.
There's settings like that where like I know it's stacked against me.
Yeah.
Like if I go to a fucking show in Portland or Brooklyn where it's all hipsters, like sure, but I know that a club I'm going to be fine.
well, and by the same
And
token,
that's-
if I go out in the middle of PA,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
same
That's
thing. So
shit. She's
But I-
gonna fucking
like-
lure
But I
you.
can go out in the middle of PA. I
Right.
can go fucking. I can do the black club. Let's fucking go with the best. No, right.
I guess what maybe to look at it this way is like I mean, you go to Mike's, it's like just look at I mean look at like a woman when she says like types of jokes that men typically tell and just watch the audience get tight. And you can
Yes.
feel them get tighter with women. I mean, I used to, when I started, I told a lot of like mostly dirty jokes. And once in a while, I still do it now, but it's like I have to like really plow into it because like if I go in and if I talk about like fucking and I like just talk about me as a sexual being, I have to ease everybody into that because they're just like, oh wait, like hold on, like I have to, now I'm picturing you naked, now it's all this, like the audience kind of gets, you can feel them, you can feel it, you have to.
But I think it's weird to hear somebody, and not that this is what you're saying, but it's weird to me when people are like, yeah, it's hard for women because audiences don't like us. And it's
I'm not saying they don't like
that's
us.
the
It's just
fucking
that they
what
don't.
We're doing. We're
they
trying
don't
to make the
expect
audience
us
like
to
it.
do well on a regular basis. Like majority of audience like sees a woman and they do even I. And here's the thing: I'm going to go internalize sexism. When I see a woman go up, I'm always like, please do good because like it's like
that's
because
natural,
I
though.
know that like. If she doesn't do good, and I'm not saying that's because she's a bad comedian, everybody has bad sets. I fucking bomb, but it's like I know that when they see that, a bunch of people are waiting for her to not be funny. So when I see any woman go up, I'm like, please be good. Like, please be
that's
good.
the thing.
And that's
So
the opposite
I do
view,
it
though.
too.
That's the opposite view I have, though, when you say a bunch of people are waiting for her to not be funny. I think there's a bunch of people that are like, everyone in the room's like, come on.
Well, if you
Be
also
funny.
if you also
Be
go,
funny.
I've noticed that before to where like, and there's also
just at
this is
Fergie's.
a sick and twisted theory in my head. It only happens at certain open mics that like will pride themselves on like we're a very welcoming space. And I've seen, and again, I could be making this up, but like I'll see like a brand new female comic go on, brand new, and people are just like really pushing out
Trying.
the laugh, almost as if they're like trying to laugh. And I noticed it in improv places, and I would do stand up. There's like a weird like forced laughter, and it's like
Improv places.
I think there are some people to be guilted into
We don't
being
even need
like,
to
there's
discuss
guys who'd
them.
be like, I gotta laugh, I have to laugh, and it could be misleading for girls who are trying to do stand up, and there's guys just like, ha 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 ha, like I'm laughing the
And
hardest.
women.
Yeah, and women, yeah, exactly.
Like I was just at
Like there's a like a pleasure for people to be like, I love women in comedy. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
it might be certain places might be like
Yeah.
that. I mean, one improv audiences are very forgiving. I
But
can
even
say
like
that.
To female
even
comics.
I've seen Fergie's before to where like they cultivate a certain environment there, and I've seen like a brand new female comic go on. People are just like, oh, like gut splitting to the point where I'm like, like it's interesting.
Was it like other comedians or like audience members?
Comics? It was all
was
comics,
other
there. But
comics.
they're more just like. And they're being nice. They're encouraging the person, but it's almost like there's a pressure on them to laugh. You know what I mean? It
there
goes
is.
both ways.
Definitely.
But I
mean,
feel like
that-
that's like with any. I mean, it's like there's open mics where like even if I see a newer guy go up, I'll like listen to what he's saying, and I might like go, like I might like chuckle.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, like if I appreciate it, I like even if I don't really like the joke, I'll be like, okay, I see what you did there, because it's like a supportive. I think a lot.
Yeah,
I know I do try to do that, like to anybody who's newer. But if I don't think it's funny, I definitely won't laugh, even if it's a girl. But I've seen some newer girls get up, and even newer guys get up, and like sometimes a newer person will just say something fucking funny, like and it's
that's
like
true. I just think now, and this is again, I form a lot of weird paranoid theories, but I think guys now are picking up on the fact they're like, all right, if I adopt these kind of feminist ideals and form myself like that, I can get women, basically.
But do you think that's more like reading the room? Are you talking about the comedy style?
No, like male comics who are just like, oh, this is what's going on. I'll be a male feminist now.
Well, it's like we said with anything. It's like if you take a person who's a manipulator to get what they want, they're going to use whatever they can to do it. So if they're like, I'll pretend like I'm into this even though I'm not.
Exactly.
Like you're just a manipulator. You would have done that no matter what environment you were in.
And I think that's all guys except me and Shane.
True.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. It's just weird.
Sure.
I've heard girls before being like I know how girls think, and it's like I know how guys think really well. And sometimes I'll see them doing stuff where I'm like,
we know how guys think too. We're
weasel.
not that stupid. I mean, it's like whenever a guy is too, they're too just like, oh, like I did this or I did that. I'm like, that's cool. Like you don't need to tell me about it. Like, I mean, it's we. I'm suspicious when a guy is like telling me like what kind of feminist things he's done. I'm just kind of like, I hope you just did it because you wanted to do it, not because you're trying to talk about it. You know,
definitely not.
But definitely.
That's interesting.
This is
it's good.
interesting.
This was interesting, man.
I'm just so worried I'm going to come off like
You're
a
not
fucking
gonna come off
dickhead in
bad.
this.
Why are you worried about it now as opposed to any other time, Shane?
What do you mean any other time? This is recorded. We can have a conversation. In fact, when we turn the mics off, I'm going to fucking we're gonna have a chat.
No, you said you were worried about.
chat.
You said you were worried you're going to sound like a dick or whatever. I'm like,
'cause I'm
because
already
you're
sound
always,
like a dickhead?
you're never worried about that.
No, because this is about women. It's a very fucking possibly damaging
That's my whole point. Is I think people really do.
It's not damaging because I'm here.
People
so,
need to be
you
honest
know.
about it
Just
because,
trying
like
to
I
be
was saying,
honest.
you get a lot of guys who are like, if I say this, I won't. My chances of dating within my scene just like roll down a mountain. So it's
Opportunistic,
like,
sure.
Even if it's not dating, but opportunistic of getting booked.
or social,
being a
just the
fucking
way I'm
ally.
perceived. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
lot of guys who might in their heads be like, they'll think.
Well-
a lot of guys who message me who think parallel to like certain things I think, and then they'll just like private message be like, "Yo, dude, you're so fucking right. I would never say that." And it's like, all right.
Well, to me, it's like everybody's polite to a degree and respectful, even if you don't like it's professionalism again. Like when you're at your job, you might not like somebody, but you know what professional codes of conduct are. So you can argue like guys are pretending to be feminists so they don't get shunned out of their scene. But you could just say maybe being feminist just means being respectful to women. So maybe you can be like in your brain, be like, oh, that's a bitch. I fucking don't like her. But
That's literally my brain.
fucking bitch. You know, you might.
For a second, I thought I was like hearing my thoughts. And I was like, what the fuck's going on?
In your brain. So maybe you could think that, but if you're outwardly respectful, like that's just being a good fucking person.
but
Like
Yes.
that's
when that same
I think being
person-
honest is being a good person.
you can be
I do
honest
too.
without being a shitty
I don't
McShitterson.
think, but my
But
thing
if
is,
you're not mistreating, but if you're mistreating people, like new female comics on, or a female comics on that's not very good consistently, and you're sitting there howling laughing, and then a guy comic comes on, and you're like,
yeah.
I see that a lot. And
I
that
mean, if
happens
you're
a ton.
presenting
And
like
it's
that,
fucking-
then that's
next time you're
on
there,
you.
look, it's fucking.
No,
you
I
see it.
fucking-
It's crazy.
That's like
See
this, you're
shit,
saying,
too.
like how exactly, like you'll notice getting like you'll be like I get sexualized, and I'm sitting here like okay, but then like that's something you're hyper aware of, and you notice. There's like weird things that we'll notice as like the weird straight white guy things, and you go up in a certain room, and you'll be like, really, dude, you're gonna fucking stonewall me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's and again, I think that all comes to our own personal neuroticisms and stuff, but
Yeah, the fact is stand up fucking blows, and no matter what, you're gonna always think you deserve more than you fucking have. And
yeah.
I've come to terms with this.
Have you? I feel
I
like
try to.
My whole thing,
try.
I'm on more of like a pure quest of knowledge, really.
Matt's out here. Matt's in outer space.
I'm
I'm
out.
fucking,
My whole thing is that I think people should be honest. I think people should be allowed to be honest. In my experiences, if I've ever shared opinions on Facebook, it's just greeted with just like you're a fucking piece of shit, and it's like okay. And I don't think that's helpful to where like, and I'm not saying like you or anything, but I've seen it before to where like people just go, all right, well, I can't say what I feel, so I'm just going to button up and just go with the program. And I think that's not good when I see that. But then again, if the program goes a good way, I could see that. But
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes
it weirds me out what I've seen, you know. What I again, nothing's purely good or purely bad, but like I'll see things to where I'm like, when guys are messaging me certain things and like they'll like interact in a certain way with the other people, that I'm like, that's fucking weird. To like secretly feel some way in your gut and just be out here like slipping around and being like, yeah, no, totally, I get it.
and to me that's worse to me than somebody who just comes out and says what they think. Because honestly, I'd rather see you. Like I'd rather know what you're
toad
about.
that I am.
Yeah, like don't waste my time and energy. But like, you know, like Facebook is Facebook, but it's like sometimes it's just exhausting because it's like, and it is. I was talking to a friend about this once about like that whole pressure to educate like men, like, well, why is this like coming at you anytime you post something? It's like, yeah, it's like, I don't fucking just look it up. Google, you could read feminist shit, you know, don't like, why are you making me explain this over and over and over? And then you have a handful of guys that legit want to learn. Like they legit are asking out of curiosity and they just don't know, but they're surrounded in this swarm of men that are actually just trying to troll you because they are angry. So it's like, we're so used to being trolled and like attacked that we're just like, fuck off sometimes. Cause it's like, no, I like, look it up. I don't know what to tell you. So
no, that makes sense.
Kind of just, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I've definitely like had moments where I'm like, all right, let me talk to this guy, because I've had like guys reach out. I'm like, okay, let me sit and take the time, and then they turn around and fucking acted like an
Send
asshole.
you the dick pic down the pipeline. They're like, hey, check it out.
just really shitty. So I'm just like, man, like I tried to engage with you. Like I tried to engage with you. I tried not to be like a feminazi or whatever, and then like you just wasted my time and my energy, and you know. So that's kind of why.
We got to be going long here.
Yeah, we're
I feel like it's.
Let me get you out of here. It's 8:00.
Oh fuck! I gotta get down there.
Yeah. So Rachel, I think
that was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
I'm happy we
Thanks
did that.
for having me.
I think we. Shane, you want a final word?
I suck.
Final thought.
No, I don't.
I think that was good.
I'm glad that you guys felt like you could be open with me.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it. No, I think so too.
I think that people just need to be fucking open.
Yeah, and I also, like I said,
not dicks. Open and not dicks. That's my thing. Be honest, but just don't be a dick.
Yeah. I just think both sides, like the conservative end of the equation, there's stuff that they're right about. The super liberal end, there's stuff that they're right about, and it's just like my biggest thing right now is just seeing people realize, like, all right, the mental encampment that I subscribe to doesn't have all the answers, and that's the thing that bothers me when people go gung ho on either side and they're like, it's this way. So that's the final word. No, or unless you want a final word.
November 22nd.
Oh,
Helium Comedy
live
Club.
podcast.
Live podcast. Rachel will be there having fun in the audience.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to plug anything?
I don't know when it is. I don't know what day of the week it is.
Thanksgiving.
I don't think I'm doing anything.
You might be home for family stuff.
So if any of our male listeners want to confront her, that's another thing. Most of our listeners are going to be like, fucking female comics suck.
I love them.
You think so?
Definitely. I think that for a lot of, non-comic listeners, that was...
my fans will be probably... My fans will probably... I have like more like Rogan, open-minded fans. They'll be like, whoa, yeah.
I got my central PA.
We'll see what your numbers do after. You never know. I'll boost it on my end, so maybe you'll get some more female listeners.
I don't know if I want female listeners.
Why? You always think
they don't like me. I don't know if they like me. I'm always afraid of that.
They like you, dude.
Yeah, that's all right. I will say that. That's one thing that's funny because Crick has it in his mind that everyone doesn't like him.
Why?
I don't know, because he's a fucking weirdo. But I was like, yeah, I had that for a while, and then you realize it's because it's embarrassing. Nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, honestly, like nobody really cares that much. To me, the idea of like caring that much about anybody sounds really exhausting.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing once you find out you're not on anybody's mind. Just like,
what's worse, people hating you or no one giving a shit? Yeah,
it's a sad revelation. But November 22nd, live podcast at Helium. Come to that. That'll be a fun one. And I don't know. That's it.
That's it.
Bloomsburg this weekend. We got any fucking Bloomsburg fans? Come out to Bloomsburg on Saturday. That's it.
Thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Rachel.
Thank you.
Praise the Lord, I was born to travel. Feeling like Slash in front of the chapel. I'm lean back with the